What is up, team? Killchain here, and we are back with a Season 4 Mythic Plus update. And there's actually going to be a key level squish involved, so that's pretty interesting. We're going to run over that and the implications of that moving forward. And most notably as well, they have, I guess, Blue Posty confirmed that we will be getting the Dragonflight raids as well, which we already sort of kind of figured for Season 4, just like Shadowlands. We're going to revisit Vault of the Incarnates, Aberrus, as well as Imidrisil. Now, that will obviously entail a bunch of new trinket and gear combinations, and we have new item levels that we know this is going to peak out at as well, which will be really cool. We're going to run over that, and when we hit the item level section, we'll revisit what that means for raids as well, even though they haven't given us any information about the raids yet. We don't know if there's a dinar system or anything like that, but we can at least make some inferences given this Mythic Plus post. So let's run over it. So the first major plot point that they talked about is how heroic dungeons specifically are barely distinct from normals at max level, and most importantly, they literally mean nothing after a few days, which is 100% true. I didn't even have to do that many heroic dungeons when we moved into a new expansion for Dragonflight before Season 1 actually launched. We did our Mythic Zeros, and you did one of each dungeon for the week, and then after that you just farmed rares. Like, I don't even think I did more than maybe 1 or 2 heroic dungeons. Really cool that they're, identifying this as a stepping stone issue. Likewise with Mythic Zero dungeons, they rapidly lose relevance in the first few weeks. 100% true. The moment the season drops, there's no reason to ever do a Mythic Zero, because you're just like, well, I'll just do a +2, right? They're basically the same thing. You completely trounce a +2s anyway, and that'll ramp all the way up to like your +3 chesting it, all that kind of stuff. So you're typically on the start of a season, especially if you have decent gear from the prior season, you were essentially just leapfrogging from a +2 to a +5 to a +9 or +8, sorry, then to a +11, and then maybe you'd start slowing down a bit around the +11 mark. So it'll be interesting. I think it's really good that they can at least identify that these are issues, right? And then lastly, another very true point is the only true endgame for the dungeon mode being Mythic Plus currently revolves around a timer. 100% true. And this means that any other new mega dungeons outside of other new mega... What? This means that other than new mega dungeons, yeah, there we go, there isn't a place for endgame players who really enjoy a more methodical dungeon pacing and gameplay. Very true, not relevant to me, but that's a big issue with the stepping stone into Mythic Plus as well, right? Like, you're immediately hit on the head with timers, grouping issues because you can't queue for stuff. A lot of those kind of things that does make Mythic Plus quite a stark jump from, hey, I've just hit max level, I've done a little bit of heroic gear. The heroic gear barely gives me decent art level, and now I've got this monumental, horrible thing that seems scary. I didn't even touch Mythic Plus, honestly, that heavily until Dragonflight launched, and even then I was pretty bad looking back retrospectively in Season 1, but I was like, hey, yeah, I got some portals, and now I've got all the portals, and now I'm actually trying to push RIO, and it's been really fun. Honestly, I'm enjoying Mythic Plus as a game mode, but it does have its drawbacks. So this is definitely going to work well to kind of bridge the gap on... Instead of creating a wall of Mythic Plus, you've got steps leading up, and that's going to be really good for the casual player base to get their feet in, get used to it, get comfortable without the issues of affixes and timers and all that kind of stuff, and then kind of entice them in a little bit and help them with their gearing on the way up as well. So, given the combination of the 2 underutilized difficulties and a gap in meeting player demand, we're restructuring the dungeon difficulty rewards in Season 4. Cool. Heroic difficulty and rewards will move up to roughly the level of Mythic Zero. Cool. So we're getting Mythic Zero gear, but viewable in a heroic fashion where you just spam the shit out of them as much as we want. Excellent. And these dungeons will remain available to queue. Yep, cool. Via the group finder. We typically sort of figured that out ourselves. And the item level requirement to queue will go up accordingly as well. Cool, that should be fine. You would expect that as, again, a leapfrog system from sort of doing normals to get good enough to do heroics. And you will have quest items and stuff along the way. The reason why I'm mentioning that specifically, because Season 4, this is all kind of irrelevant because you're just going to have the item level from the previous season anyway. But it does say on our nice little infographic here that it does include 11.0, which means this is a revamp to the system and, you know, a change moving forward beyond just season 4, but it will affect the War Within as well. So as we level up for the first time in War Within, hitting that brick level of heroic difficulty and then moving into Myth Zeros before the season drops, we'll have this new kind of weighted system involved with it as well. So, and lastly, the existing Mythic Plus system will pick up where that leaves off, as to be expected, such that a Mythic 5 in Season 4 is roughly equivalent to a current Season 3's version of a Mythic 15. 100%, everything's getting switched down by the 10 levels, and those initial 10 levels are just being wrapped and rolled into the Heroic and Mythic Zeros. Really good stepping stone. It actually brings them to the forefront a little bit again. Really helpful for alts, and most importantly for the casual player base that don't want to just throw themselves into Mythic Plus, find it daunting, whatever the case may be. Yeah, it gives them a few more stepping stones in that path to slowly build your way into the Mythic Plus. And most importantly, you'll notice that these little blue notches are where the current affixes sit. So not only in terms of just general eye level where everything stands, you've got much more smoother stepping stones from Heroic to Mythic Zero, but the affixes don't even start till what we would now know as a plus 11 and a plus 15, and then the final affix doesn't even kick in until what we now know as a plus 20. So that's really good, although their numbers are shifting. So a plus 2 is now considered the plus 11, a plus 15 when the next affix kicks in is now considered the plus 5, and then the plus 10 when the third and final affix kicks in is now considered a plus 20. So that's the shift changing. Most importantly, this will be to recalibrate core difficulties to align with seasonal play experience and progression. Completely true. We definitely want to get that more casual player base, or those that find Mythic Plus daunting, or alts, or whatever the case is. We're really bridging that gap between the lower and middle kind of Mythic Plus experience to help funnel them into a higher Mythic Plus experience, which just makes the game overall better for everyone. Another thing they talked about as well is reducing the amount of player pool that are trying to spread themselves across multiple key difficulties, and that's 100% true as well, right? Like if you had, let's say, 20,000 players and they all happen to look for keys between plus 2 all the way up to plus 30 in a particular day or particular time frame. Now, if you happen to shrink the amount of keys available to, say, plus 10 or maybe even a plus 15, which is currently considered a plus 25, right? If you had a whole bunch of players, those same 20,000 players, but they're all only looking in now half the amount of key levels that happen to exist, you're going to have a more flourishing community of people able to find groups and things like that. So that's really good as well. I think the squish will help in that regard. Now, really cool is a nice little layout of just exactly how this is going to all fall into place. It's not only good for seeing where the current track item level tracks are kind of sit for the new dungeons when Season 4 drops, but it gives us a really good indication of where we expect the new Mythic and Heroic raids to sit in Season 4 when we revisit Vault of the Incarnates and Abyss and stuff like that. And that gives us an idea of where the trinkets and very special items from back in Vault of the Incarnates will drop. We've got the insane Hunter Bow, which will probably be a well sought after weapon. So expect to see Hunters kind of go bonkers. I know we're derailing a little bit and talking about raid for 2 seconds, but bear with me. Hunter Bow is going to be wild, so expect BM Hunters to be redonkulous again, and maybe even Marks as well for that matter. We also had, I guess you could say, the pole arm from Abyss. It will make maybe feral druids and your monks and stuff kind of have a really cool on-use weapon again. That'll be helpful for them. But most importantly as well, Vault of Incarnates has the 2 rings. They are very rare rings, and Seal of Diona's Chosen and Seal of Regal Fealty or something like that. Basically, one was when you do fire damage, you do more fire damage, and then the other one was when you do fire damage, you get an absorb shield. So this was pretty relevant for certain classes back then as well, but if you don't have fire damage, you're shit out of luck, which most importantly means not only are Rep Paladins and Fire Mages really strong right now, they're going to be even more stronger in Season 4, because Rep Paladins get radiant damage, which counts as light and fire, and Fire Mages are obviously fire damage, right? So expect to see Rets and Fire Mages doing really solid and constantly farming the shit out of trying to get those 2 rings that will have elevated R levels, as well as give a unique extra passive by allowing fire damage to augment their gameplay a little bit slightly. And you'll see crazy Beacons of Beyond from Avarice again, probably. You've got the Ominous Chromatic Essence versus the Whispering Incarnate Icon versus Pips, and that whole passive trinket combination to figure out which one's better. And that in and of itself is also going to lead to another kind of discussion of if, for example, the Whispering Incarnate Icon happens to be the best in slot trinket for yourself, it may not necessarily best in slot trinket for most other classes. And Whispering Incarnate Icon requires other classes to be wearing the Whispering Incarnate Icon, so you get the passive benefits of it. And that may push Whispering outside of your best in slot list. A lot of little intricacies like that, which will be interesting to see how they all fall into place. But you'll see here as well that our item levels go all the way up. So this gives us an indication that we expect to see Myth Track 4 out of 4 as probably 528 R level, right? So you go up 3 to 525 and then another 3 to 528. Cool. That's the ultimate peak, 528. And then those rare rings, for example, like Seal of Giona's Chosen. What other rare trinkets are there that I'm missing? I can't remember whether Manic Grief Torch was considered a rare, but Manic Grief Torch will be another crazy trinket that might be super strong at the higher R levels as well. But either way, any of those rare sort of items, you're expecting them to have an elevated beyond the 4 out of 4, right? Just like the current rare trinkets and stuff that you get from Mythic Firearch will allow you to go up to the max amount of 496 at the moment. So with that in mind, we know where the raid item level should sit as well. Also gives us an indication of what to expect coming into the War Within. Blizzard has mentioned at BlizzCon that there won't be a stat squish until midnight, the following expansion after the War Within. So we are expecting sort of R level 600, maybe 700s, and then the DPS sort of being in the millions at this point before they do a stat squish. So as you can see now as well, straight out of the gate, the Mythic Zeros that have no timer and no affixes to speak of will already give you item levels higher than the best in slot possible R level at all. So as soon as Season 4 drops, you're getting champion level gear straight out of the gate with something that's untimed and unaffixed, which is kind of wild to think of, to be honest, but you should in theory still only be able to do one of these every week. It should still have the Mythic Lockout, which is a bit of a bummer, but yeah, it is what it is. That's fine. And then as soon as you start pushing into your 2s and above and everything like that, you're going to be getting, really quite ramping up, quite quickly, sorry. You'll be ramping up your R level. But keep in mind, these are set at the difficulty of 10s and above. So you are jumping, pretty largely from what will be a heroic dungeon getting you 476 R level that you can completely spam and queue over and over again, into a very easy first entry level look at an untimed and unaffixed mythic dungeon that you can only do one a week, but ramps up your gear to, most importantly, again, that champion level track, which is really cool. But 493 already getting end of dungeon rewards that are just way better, which is really cool. And then progressing up from there, you'll be able to eventually peak out at your plus 10s, which will get you the Myth Track gear, 2 out of 4, which just like we currently expect with 483 R levels, and then we bump it up twice with our Aspect Crest. Likewise, everything will shift down in terms of the Aspects, and Whelpling Crests are just no longer there anymore. Drakes will start at your plus 2s, and you go on from there, which means exactly where we all expect it to fall into. You'll have Drake from the Heroic and Mythic, and then Wormcrest will kick in from your plus 2s. And then from plus 6s, which is currently 16, exact same as how it currently functions, Aspects will cross in. So you'll be farming plus 6s basically to get all your Aspect stuff. And it'll go all the way up to 522, as do we expect from a plus 10. Now, this is going to be pretty interesting, because now we will be seeing at the end of Season 4, plus 20s be like the pinnacle of crazy up there people pulling off some pretty next level stuff. But it also gives a much better kind of entry level to the new expansion, like I said, with 11.0. I'm excited. I think this is definitely a solid way to do it. I'm worried that the jump from Heroic to Mythic 0 will still be overlooked. But again, I don't think these type of systems are for us, so to speak. Because although when we enter a new season, we typically go, oh, we've got a new season, we've got to get a Keystone going, cool, that's fine. Then you just ramp up super quickly. You go +2, +5, +8, +11, cool, off to the races. That might be relevant for people that play Mythic Plus a lot, but giving this much smoother stepping stones for the casual player base or those that haven't yet or haven't had a desire to jump into Mythic Plus as much, this is a really good change. Definitely happy with it, and it should set a good precedent for the War Within as well. I'm looking forward to it. I'm pretty excited, and it gives us an idea of where to expect our Mythic raid trinkets and things to fall in terms of item level as well, once we find out more information about them. And that'll include what will hopefully be a dinar system or something very similar again for the raiding side of things, so we can snipe particular piece of the gear. That will be a whole nother video. I think I might even do that, to be honest, because there's a lot of interesting trinkets and ring combinations and even the specialized weapons, right? That will be super useful for certain specs and stuff. So with that in mind, that's how we're looking for Season 4. I'm pretty excited. I think this is kind of the best infographic that'll kind of give an idea of what to expect moving forward. And yeah, what else can I say? Season 4 should be pretty fun. I'm less excited about the raid side of things. I kind of just want to go in and get the gear that I want. And I'm hoping a sort of similar dinar system will allow us to do so. And then pretty keen to see Season 4 though. That should be quite interesting in terms of, especially with ults and things like that. And I do believe if you're ever going to try out a new role of some description, like if you want to give tanking or healing a shot, I myself am hoping that I can jump into some tanking for Season 4, but doing it at the start of the season feels like a better option than towards the end of it, just in terms of learning curves and stuff like that. So I'm excited. Let me know what you guys think down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video, which we will be talking about what to expect for gearing and raid trinkets and certain trinkets and uniques that will be very smart to keep an eye out on and try and snag one out. Peace. Thanks.